Today we are facing some of the greatest challenges of our lives, from our health to political unrest, the environment, financial uncertainty, and the nation's racial divide. Welcome to Bill Myers Inspires. My idea for this show was to invite guests and get the conversation started, to take a deep dive into the issues that impact our world with an eye to exploring solutions. And we encourage our listeners to look within themselves to take decisive action to make a positive difference. Welcome to Bill Myers Inspires. I'm your host, Bill Myers, and the topic of today is the Salvation Army, meeting human needs in times like these. Now, we have all seen the Salvation Army in action. We have seen, particularly this time of year, all of the red kettles and the people ringing the bells and all that sort of thing. And when I think of the Salvation Army, I think of a very famous musical that I participated in a number of years ago called Guys and Dolls. And so I played Sky Masterson, who was the love interest of Sister Sarah, who was with the Salvation Army. I think that when we see the Salvation, we see it so frequently. And I know for myself, I don't really know exactly what they do entirely. I know that it's good stuff because they've been around a very long time. And I know that a lot of people lean into their services. However, I'm not quite clear on all of what those services are. So I thought, in the midst of me educating myself, I would do a little bit of a journey and dive into the Salvation Army so that we can all learn a little bit more about who these people are and what exactly they do that is so wonderful to be around as long as they have. So I'd like to start off with just a brief history, a couple of paragraphs here of the Salvation Army, courtesy of Wikipedia. The Salvation Army is a Christian church and an international charitable organization. The organization reports a worldwide membership of over 1.7 million, consisting of soldiers, officers, and adherents, collectively known as Salvationists. Its founder sought to bring salvation to the poor, destitute, and hungry by meeting both their physical and spiritual needs. It is present in 131 countries, running charity shops, operating shelters for the homeless and disaster relief, and humanitarian aid to developing countries. The theology of the Salvation Army is derived from that of Methodism, although it is distinctive in institution and practice. A peculiarity of the Army is that it gives its clergy titles of military ranks, such as lieutenant or major. It does not celebrate the rites of baptism and Holy Communion. However, the Army's doctrine is otherwise typical of holiness churches in the Wesleyan Armenian tradition. The Army's purpose are the advancement of the Christian religion, of education, the relief of poverty, and other charitable objects beneficial to society or the community of mankind as a whole. The Army was founded in 1865 in London by one-time Methodist circuit preacher William Booth and his wife Catherine as the East London Christian Mission, and can trace its origins to the Blind Beggar Tavern. In 1878, Booth reorganized the mission, becoming its first general and introducing the military structure which has been maintained as a matter of tradition. Its highest priority is its Christian principles. The current international leader of the Salvation Army and CEO is General Brian Peddle, who was elected by the High Council of the Salvation Army on the 3rd of August, 2018. So as you can see, this is a nice little foundational piece as we dive a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more about the Salvation Army. But before I go any further, I would like to introduce you to my guest today. She is the lead chaplain of the Salvation Army here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And her name is Charlotte Coffer. So welcome, Charlotte. Welcome to Bill Myers Inspires.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Bill. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to have you here. I really am. And I'm excited about today because we get a chance to learn something. And
Okay.
so I want to uh, just kind of open up right now and ask you, when did you begin your service with the Salvation Army, and what was it that inspired you to join the Salvation Army?
Okay. It was kind of strange, but I think it happens in everybody's life. Sometimes you have those events that change your life from what you usually do every day.
Oh,
And
sure.
mine was from being married to being unmarried.
Okay.
And after 25 years, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was heartbroken and sorry for my part that I had played in that separation. And at that low time and all, I was just wanting to be of some sort of service to see if I still had some good in me to give. And there was a friend that said, "Would you like to come over and help at the Salvation Army?" I said,
Hmm.
"Sure." And so it was on Sunday. I would go over and do like a Sunday school. And it was down at the then Central City um, church where the homeless would come in through the week and
Uh-huh.
shower, eat. And on Sundays, I would do help with services. Well, after about a few months or maybe 6 months of doing that, I was
Hmm.
invited to become a member of the Salvation Army. And I looked at their doctrine and I said, well, since I've got your bat and your ball, I might as well play in your field. And so I became a member, I became a soldier of the Salvation Army. And then after around 9/11 is when, of course, we all knew where we were.
Hmm.
At that time, too, we had made, the Salvation Army had made a move from going downtown to be where we are now at 2400 Tips. And the opportunity opened up itself for me to be chaplain. And the officers at the time, let me know that I would make a good chaplain. And I said, oh, I can't be a chaplain. I'm a woman. They're not going to let me, men ain't going to listen to anything I have to say. And so I went back and told my sons, I said, hey, they want me to be chaplain. And my sons, being, typical children who know more about you than what you think they know, said, Mom, you do it anyway. I said, yeah, I guess I do it anyway. And so I became chaplain of Harbor Light Salvation Army here in Indianapolis. And so that's what started my journey to become not an officer, but to become a chaplain for the Salvation Army.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. And interesting, the Salvation Army. I mean, just the name of it. When you tell of your circumstance that led you into that, questioning whether or not you had uh, any good left in you, anything to offer to others, and how insightful that it was your kids that spurred you on and said, "Mom, you are, I mean, you fill us up, so certainly
Yeah.
you've got something to offer." So I think that's quite wonderful. So do you have? Can you give me just an idea of what the various services are just in general, and then when we come back in another, our next segment, we will dive a little bit deeper into the work of each one of those.
Mhm. Well, the Salvation Army, wherever there's a need, we don't wait for the need to come to us. Of course, we go out to meet it. And where those needs are, it can be senior citizens that will have a need. And so we have a place here in Indianapolis called Booth Manor. And
Okay.
so their focus over at Eagle Creek would be the children, but also of taking care of our senior citizens. Not that we don't take care of them at the other corps. And we use military terms where you would say church, Salvation Army would say corps. where you would say pastor, Salvation Army would say officer. So if I throw those terms out, I'll try to, put an equal sign to what you're usually hearing.
Sure.
We also have deal with children. So the Croc Center partners, we partner with them, with the Croc Center, to deal with the children and the youth. There is also, we do deal with battered women or women and stuff that are homeless with their children. And we partner with the Ruth Lilly for downtown and stuff of meeting those needs there. And just not women, but men who are in stress and stuff too, they're not having a place. What I deal with here at Harbor Light would be the people that have been struggling with alcohol and struggling with addictions. And they've been trying to maybe to do it themselves to find out it's not a self-doing kind of thing for everybody. And so we have the programs here that you can live here, and we'll try to help you. And if that's not conducive, you can come in for our intensive outpatients that can help you in those instances. If there is a disaster, I was able to be where have been tornadoes. So we go to wherever that need would be. We have disaster programs and stuff that we do. We do things around Christmas, of course, I think we're noted for, with those bells out there and our ringers and stuff, because, and I would like to tell you the story if you don't want to look it up, how it got started,
Sure.
maybe a little bit later. But to know that every nickel, dime, penny, cent that's given to us has a destination point. And those destination point is to meet those needs wherever they are. And just not here in the United States, but we also have over in foreign countries that we are. And they don't have bell campaigns. And they don't have the things that we have here. So every core, what we do is we send what monies and stuff that we can bring in, we send it up to the different headquarters so they can send it out. We send it up so that they can send it out to meet just not the needs here, like in the United States, but for wherever people are hurting. We want to be, there's a motto we have that says, heart to God and hand to man.
Oh, that's
Heart
lovely.
to God and hand to man. And so that's the little brief things of that we do and be involved in.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned a number of things, and I love the fact that you said you don't wait for the problem or the situation to come to you. You go to,
Yes.
you reach out, and I love that proactive nature. And that is that's a different model than many church organizations, many outreach type organizations. That might be something that separates it quite a bit, is to step out and meet these needs. So, excuse me, I am thrilled to have you here today, and I'm already feeling good inside because, whenever I hear or am engaged in a conversation where people are dealing with service to others, it really means a lot, because we live oftentimes in our existence in a world where we walk by each other. We rarely make eye contact. Oftentimes we don't really, when we ask, how are you doing? We really aren't expecting the truth out of that. It almost just becomes this sort of just something you say.
Yeah.
But when you ask that and you really do care about what is being said and the status of an individual, I think that is it's essential to our humanity, and I think that it really means a lot. So
Can I
I'm
say
thrilled
too,
that
one of the things too that I have learned as you go into missions, are you opening up to want to reach out to other people? I found out that when you see people standing on the streets and they got their little signs up and everything. Well, one of the things that I had found in my journey is that I packed little bitty Ziploc bags that has canned meat in it, a bottled water in it, sometimes some socks or something in it, and I have it in my back seat. And so instead of getting money, sometimes when you make that dilemma in your head, should I give this person money or what are they
Mhm.
going to do with it? That dilemma now has been taken away because I've learned that in the Salvation Army, that we have gone out and made those little bags. So I have it in my back seat. So while they're there, I'll bring it out and give it to them, you know. So,
Yeah,
so the different things you can learn when you do mission work, you bring something with it, but you also learn something from it.
absolutely.
You bring
Absolutely.
something with it, but you learn. So those are one of the little tidbits, things that I've learned in this journey of working
Yeah.
with the Salvation Army.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't wait to hear a little bit more, but right now we got to go to a little break. So
Okay.
you are listening to Bill Myers Inspires, and our topic today is the Salvation Army and meeting the human needs in times like these with my special guest, lead chaplain Charlotte Coffer. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Today, we are facing some of the greatest challenges of our lives, from our health to political unrest, the environment, financial uncertainty, and the nation's racial divide. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bill Myers Inspires as he and his guests take a deep dive into the issues that impact our world with an eye to exploring solutions. Emmy Award-winning actor Bill Myers is an accomplished actor, jazz musician, filmmaker, writer, educator, and speaker. As a biracial man who's both black and white, Bill leverages his background, talents, and voice through creativity, compassion, and connection as activism for social justice to focus on uniting the divide and compelling change. Bill Myers Inspires encourages listeners to look within themselves and take decisive action to make a positive difference. For more information, visit his website, billmyersinspires.com, and sign in for the latest news and updates.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You're listening to Bill Myers Inspires here on the Inspired Choices Network. We're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. And now, let's get back to the conversation. We are back. You are here with Bill Myers Inspires. I'm your host, Bill Myers. And again, I'm very excited to be here today to take a look at the Salvation Army with my guest today, the lead chaplain, Charlotte Coffer. So we were talking just before the break, and you mentioned, you rattled off a few of these items as far as activities that the Salvation Army engages in. And so one of the things, I just kind of want to pick some of them off right now. So I want to look at, say, natural disasters, like a natural disaster. How does the Salvation Army sort of mobilize and move into those communities? I'm just very curious because, it's always a process, whenever there's a disaster because and an emergency, because we don't see them coming. That's why, we're all, up in arms in that moment. So how do you, as the Salvation Army, sort of move out into these scenes, and what type of services do you have an example of that? That would be wonderful to know, because that always intrigues me when we deal with emergencies.
Yes,
um,
yes. Um, that's not my background with Salvation Army, but I can tell you
Okay.
my association with it when I've gone.
Okay,
So what
sure.
I've done with it and all is that there's a lot of preparing yourself before you go, so we'll know. So training has been involved and stuff when we do go out, and that's from hurricanes or we set up a base and all. From one of the unique things that I was able to be involved in was Hurricane Katrina. When
Hmm.
that devastation happened, we went down and we bought people because they had no homes or nothing to stay in. We brought them back to Indianapolis, so that way that we could service them and give them this because they lost a medication, they lost ID, they lost all the other things that would typically have because it was all wiped out. And in this particular incident, there was a girl there that came. She was deaf, and they knew I knew sign language. And so they asked me to come and to speak with her and to talk with her and then to navigate her in the things that she needed so that she could get established again. The Salvation Army, it allowed me to take her into my home. And so I was able to just be with her and nurture her. And then I got to take her to get her ID again, those things that she needed to be established still. And then they did a marvelous thing. They found out that she was graduating and that she was ready to go to a college. And so what they did was they flew me and her both to Washington, D.C., so that I could get her established in Gallaudet College down there. And I thought that that was wonderful, not only in helping her from that disaster, but helping pushing her into another level of life. So we just didn't stop at that. There were some people there from that incident that we were able to establish them. And so they were able either to go back when it was ready, and a lot of them decided to stay here in Indiana itself. So those are one of the things that we do when there was a tornado, or tornado down in southern Indiana. I was able to be one of the ones to go down. And what I found out about Salvation Army, that we're there for the people, but when you have so many people wanting to help people, sometimes you can step over each other's feet,
Yeah. Oh,
trying
yeah.
trying to help them. You have churches going down and you have service groups going down. And the unique thing I saw about the Salvation Army is that we went down, and when it was so busy, everybody else taking care of them, we took care of the people that were taking care of them, which would be your policemen, which would be your firemen. We made sure that we would take care of them so that that would free other people up. And I thought that was so marvelous of taking care of the people that were taking care of the ones that were close down there. And so I really looked at the Salvation Army and said, oh boy, there's enough to be done. If you're doing that, then let us go over here and take care of our frontline people, I should say. So like I said, I can't give you the background on how they get us to get there. I can just tell you what they've done after I've gone
Sure. Well, I think that's pretty fantastic, and you just hit on something that oftentimes in the narratives, whether it's the news or however the stories are told, um, but you just described what we've been talking about as essential workers,
there.
and that
Yes.
topic today as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that is so incredible to that the Salvation Army found its niche. It found its angle in being the support mechanism to care for and to support
Mhm.
the folks that were on the front line doing it. I think that's fantastic. And oftentimes, again, those roles like that, they don't get the headline,
No.
they don't get the mention. So I
No.
think that it's very, very important and and awesome, quite frankly, that that's that's a place that the Salvation Army found an angle to go in and to be the support to the workers themselves. I think that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, it turns into unsung heroes. It's like the people in the shadows who are
Yeah.
kind of gluing
Yeah.
it together, and I
Yeah.
think that that's incredible. Uh, it's incredibly selfless also, because they're not searching for the headline or the look at me, look at me. It's just, no, there's something that needs to be done and we're going to do it. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting, as you mentioned, Katrina, and bringing lots of those folks from New Orleans and from Louisiana to Indiana. I know that for a good period, around shortly after Katrina, I would be down, of course, I'm a jazz musician, and I would be down at the Chatterbox downtown. And there were a number, like probably about 10 people or so, who were musicians who hovered around the Chatterbox during the time of, particularly the weekends, when the headliners, are playing there, and they had their guitars on their back, and they would sit outside and they would play, and it was just fantastic that the spirit of these individuals to continue to persevere and to share their music. So I got the greatest pleasure out of meeting some of these musicians, as well as when we were on a break, to go outside and support them during the break, because they were outside. And so that was pretty special. But yeah, there was quite an influx of people after Katrina that did land here in Indianapolis, and in still the downtown area, which at that time, I'm sure, was probably, the City of Hope, the building that's right down the street from the Chatterbox. I would imagine that was probably the center area where people were hanging out. And also Harbor Light, which was down, just south of there on Delaware, I guess it was. But so that's good stuff. And I know I enjoyed those connections with the people from New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, so that was as close as I could get. Was to talk to them and to share with them. So that was pretty fantastic, and I know I enjoyed it. So we are going to be coming up on another break here in a minute, but I know that when we come back, I really do want to talk about the women's shelter, and that, and I know I also want to talk about the effect of COVID-19 and how that has influenced or the activities of the Salvation Army. Because again, as you say, you go where the need is, and boy, that need is not a geographic issue at this time. It's everywhere. And so I know that many companies and many services and many medical facilities, again, are overrun with activity. And so I want to learn more about the efforts of the Salvation Army in this time, and how that is making a difference in our community, because again, we've never seen anything like it. So it's a very unique circumstance, and it's not just here in Indiana or the Midwest. It's all over the world. And so that takes on a whole other, so there's no place that you can run to or run away from.
You can't escape it.
You cannot escape it. And so therefore you must address it head on. So, and that requires so much courage and so much drive and conviction in order to stand in this strange blender of circumstance that we're all in. I had gotten a text message from my best friend in high school. We were both drum majors at Broad Ripple, and
yay, Broad Ripple.
Yeah, Broad Ripple High School, Indianapolis, Rockets in the house. Yeah. And he just dropped me a note, and he said, I'm praying for you, Bill. And then I said, well, I'm praying for you as well. And then he sent the second part of the message was, I spend lots of my time now crying.
Wow.
He's been out of work since March. I've been out of work since March as well, because that's when everything sort of shut down and many of the things didn't come back. And so but he was pretty distraught about that, and so that led to a pretty lengthy conversation that I had with him last night, compelled to reach out to him and to shore him up a bit and at least
Yeah.
let him know he's not alone by any
Yeah.
stretch of the imagination,
Yeah.
and to let him know that I think our outlook should be one of optimism, and I think that we'll be okay as long as
Yeah.
we are looking out for each other and continue to pray for one another.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the right solution.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to take this break right now. You are listening to Bill Myers Inspires, and today our topic is the Salvation Army, meeting the human needs in times like these, with my special
Yeah.
guest, lead chaplain Charlotte Coffer. We'll be back in just a moment.
Today, we are facing some of the greatest challenges of our lives, from our health to political unrest, the environment, financial uncertainty, and the nation's racial divide. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bill Myers Inspires, as he and his guests take a deep dive into the issues that impact our world with an eye to exploring solutions. Emmy Award-winning actor Bill Myers is an accomplished actor, jazz musician, filmmaker, writer, educator, and speaker. As a biracial man who's both black and white, Bill leverages his background, talents, and voice through creativity, compassion, and connection as activism for social justice to focus on uniting the divide and compelling change. Bill Myers Inspires encourages listeners to look within themselves and take decisive action to make a positive difference. For more information, visit his website, billmyersinspires.com, and sign in for the latest news and updates.
You're listening to Bill Myers Inspires here on the Inspired Choices Network. We're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. And now, let's get back to the conversation.
We are back, and we are talking about the Salvation Army and the many wonderful services that they provide to communities all over the world. And my guest today is lead chaplain Charlotte Coffer. So before we took the break, I said I wanted to get into COVID-19. And the question that I have is how has the pandemic affected the services and the outreach efforts of the Salvation Army?
Well, when the pandemic came on board, came to us, the United States, Salvation Army Harbor Light is where, I minister out of. We had already started to change our programming. We have a program, there's 3 main programs we have here, which is withdrawal management. We have residential treatment, and we also have transitional housing. And we were changing all those formats, but the pandemic threw the biggest wrench in it that you could ever imagine. Number one, we had to shut down and then move our clients to a facility, to a hotel where they were being monitored while we disinfected the whole building. Okay, but that also gave us a chance as the staff to do what we had to do to make the place not only safe for them, but to make sure they had their programming also. I think it's really marvelous, if I can take a side note, for the people that are wanting to tackle that addiction or tackle that alcoholism at a time where it would be more convenient to keep that going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we have people that are quote unquote kind of normal, crying and stressing out, you can imagine that. And I also have an addiction and I'm unstable in other areas. But to pick that time to want to come and work on a problem and a program, one thing we do, we let the people know when they come into this program, thank you for choosing us.
Wow.
You could have went anywhere, but you choose Harbor Light. And so we count it as an honor that you're letting us partner with you in this journey. And so we made sure that we were going to keep them safe and that our programming was going to be the very best programming with excellence that we could give them, whether the pandemic came or not, but especially because the pandemic came. And so instead of having 3 in a room, before we could have more people, but because of the pandemic, we only can have 1 in a room. Okay.
Mhm.
One of the things that we're going to change anyway here at Harbor Light for our residential, not residential, yeah, residential treatment, instead of a 14-day program, we turned it to a 28-day program. So they could have that time really to mature in their recovery. So we made that difference. We didn't let them eat in the cafeteria. We had to take the food now back to their dorm. When we had church services, and a lot of folks don't know we're a church. We do the service thing so well. You'd be surprised at the many people that will call us up. Can we take your people to church? And I said, yeah, well, don't just take them to church. Let them live with you. We do, you know. they need it more than just a Sunday. They really need it throughout the whole, you know, you got all the church buildings, which is okay. And I'm glad because everybody has their own function, but take one of those rooms and make an apartment out of it, and to allow the recovery to really work itself out. And so we went and had our church services. We had to divide our programming people up. Instead of putting them all in one room, we had to put some in the hallway and then some in the other hallway so they wouldn't cross-contaminate each other. Then we went ahead and did church services by, like all the other churches have to do, we had to do it remote on sometimes. So we're still making our program book up as we go, like everybody else is doing. And we found out too, Bill, that we couldn't look back and see what other people have done during this time because we were pioneering. We're doing it this time. So that's one of the things that we had to do to make sure we keep our people safe and make sure that they get great programming as they try to go through this thing of addiction and alcoholism.
Yeah, I mean that really makes a lot of sense. And I think that there is a I think it's really wonderful, by the way. I mean, how you guys have been able to adjust and pivot, you know what I mean, in order to make the most of and continue to provide the services in the midst of a pandemic, because the challenges are just tremendous. As you said, you have to, because of social distancing and all of these types of things, adjustments must be made.
Yes.
Normal is not normal anymore. Everything is moving in a different clip. So I'm very curious, because at this time, when we have a pandemic, and you're saying that there are people that are stepping forward to seek treatment help, and it is something like a pandemic that certainly has increased domestic violence, alcoholism is up, drug abuse is up, depression is off the chain. Again,
Yeah.
that was relative to the conversation I had with my buddy yesterday. So again, the troubles are many.
Yes.
And so how is working through some of those other aspects that I just mentioned at this time? I mean, again, there are many people there are many needs right now, overwhelming needs. And so how is the morale of the officers and the various I'm trying to use my military terms, but I run out of them. I wasn't a military guy.
Okay. I feel that one. I tell you, for such a time as this, the Army and stuff always strives to find out what we can do. A lot of times when you have difficulty that you kind of want to back up, but we all come together strategically, if I can say the word right, to see what we can do to make this thing happen. And it's just not by ourselves. We pulled resources of people who have been aiding us along. We have a thing, advisory board of people that knowing what needs to be done. We pull in the experts to help us. We have so many, we stand tall because we stand on other people's shoulders. The Salvation Army does, and I'm so thankful for that. So we get a lot of input. They let us, what is that? The people that deal with the health people come in and let us know, okay, this is okay, this is you can't do. So we partner with them so that we see what we can need to do. Then we turn around and implement it, and we're coming up with so many innovative things to try to make, I'm not saying make things normal. Sometimes you can say normal so much, it's kind of like, okay, that date is gone. It's
Right.
like, where were you in 2020? Because
Yeah.
that right now we're reinventing anything that needs to be done. So we're becoming experts at of changing midstream for things, if I can say it like that. And then still to the kettle campaigns that we have that's going out. Our place here at Harbor Light, people are so generous because they're wanting to see what kind of help and stuff they can be. We have bell ringers that go out and they ring all through the day so that we can bring those funds back in to see what we can do. Volunteers that aren't asking nothing, but let us go out there and see what they can do to help you. So that kind of great support. And then when it comes down to self-care, we try to love on our people that are doing the work and let them know what we can do to support them. There's a scripture says you cry with those who cry and you rejoice with those who rejoice. Sometimes it's not the words, it's just the presence, if I can say that. Sometimes it's not the word, it's just the presence. And so just being with somebody during the time can just make them know that they're not by themselves and they're not alone. And then when they get well, or that when you want to call it well, when they get better, I should say, then they want to do that and pour that into someone else's life and kind of repeat it into another generation. And for depression, I think we all hit it now and then, Bill, and we just take turns. Sometimes if it's not, we can't do maybe the great big severe things that we have to call the person who has a degree for. But if we're down, I'm down today, you'll encourage me. And then if you hear it in my voice, if I hear it in your voice, then I try to encourage you. And so we try to support each other as we go through this brand new thing that we call life in 2020.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm a big fan of we go together or not at all. And
Yes.
the point you made a minute ago about the words, oftentimes the words get in the way, and oftentimes we are in a situation where words are completely inadequate.
Yes.
But what matters the most is just knowing that you are there, knowing that someone is sitting with me and prepared to walk with me through this circumstance, this event, this time means so much more than just somebody talking your head off or trying to say some magic word. It's like,
I
no,
know.
I love the I guess it's a poem, the footprints piece. That's one of my favorites because it doesn't require a whole lot of chatter either. It's just I'm
No.
walking with you. I am with you, and that's all you need to know is that we're in it together. And so I think that's very powerful, very, very powerful. And so we are coming up on our next break here in just a moment. But I did want to inquire about the band because I'm looking for a gig.
Yes. I'm your girl.
All right.
We can make it happen,
Hook
Captain.
it up. Hook it up.
Yeah.
So, but I would like to know if any information that you have regarding the band, and maybe how that originated, because to me there's a story there, and there's another one that I want you to share when we come back, which was the one about the young lady, the dough girl, and I will leave it right there because I want you to tell it because nobody can tell it like you,
Okay.
and it's such a wonderful story. So.
Yeah.
So we're going to get ready for our break. You've been listening to and watching Bill Myers Inspires right here on the Inspired Choices Network. And today we're talking about the Salvation Army with my special guest, lead chaplain Charlotte Coffer. We'll be back in just one moment.
Today, we are facing some of the greatest challenges of our lives, from our health to political unrest, the environment, financial uncertainty, and the nation's racial divide. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bill Myers Inspires, as he and his guests take a deep dive into the issues that impact our world with an eye to exploring solutions. Emmy Award-winning actor Bill Myers is an accomplished actor, jazz musician, filmmaker, writer, educator, and speaker. As a biracial man who's both black and white, Bill leverages his background, talents, and voice through creativity, compassion, and connection as activism for social justice to focus on uniting the divide and compelling change. Bill Myers Inspires encourages listeners to look within themselves and take decisive action to make a positive difference. For more information, visit his website, billmyersinspires.com, and sign in for the latest news and updates.
You're listening to Bill Myers Inspires here on the Inspired Choices Network. We're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. And now, let's get back to the conversation. We're back. You're listening to Bill Myers Inspires. I am Bill Myers, your host, and today we are talking about the Salvation Army. And I just want to do a little brief commercial. So I'm so proud to be a member of the Inspired Choices Network because look at what I got for Christmas. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, guys. This is wonderful because I use it. I am an IV coffee user. Let me just be clear. I truly am a coffee drinker of epic proportions. So, but now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would like to get back to my discussion with Charlotte about the Salvation Army. So this time of the year is a very special time when we see the red kettles and we see the folks clanging the bell. Yeah. And I must say, I have spent a number of hours and days as a bell ringer when I was with the Indianapolis Downtown Optimist Club.
Yes.
Because we are big bell ringing folk.
Yes.
And so and so that was always a joy because I got to do it with my dad. And that was like a father-son moment. And it was really, really wonderful. And so talk to me about the bell ringing, but and how that is going this year. And I know I want about the dough girl. I don't feel like I'm fishing around, but I want to make sure I'm getting my points out. And my camera just went out again. So now you are on. You are on. And so talk to me about the dough girl and while I get my camera situation.
Okay. Cool beans. All
right.
When World War I had started, we were sending our people from the United States over there. And because we were wanting always to support and be wherever help and stuff was needed, we had, as young as the men were that were going over there to serve in that war, was as young as the young women who went on those same boats that was taking them over there because they wanted to be of support to our troops while they were fighting for our country. And so it just really, I really was admiring the idea that although you might be fearful in doing something that's going to be harmful to yourselves, to do it anyway, because you're fighting for a purpose and a reason. And so our young girls went there. And the first dough girl that went over there, I can tell you how that got started, but she lived in Huntington, Indiana. And I thought that was so marvelous that my hometown played a part in that. And they became dough girls because they didn't go over there to make donuts or anything, but they went over there to help and to support. They went there for that support, online support. And what had happened, and partnering and talking with people and being a presence, like you had mentioned before, Bill, this one girl was a present as this one young man was talking about home. And so she asked him what are some of the things that he had missed about home when he thought about home. And he said the sweets and the donuts that he would have, that his mom would make. And so she went back to where they were staying in her little part of the camp, where the Salvation Army was. And she took some lard and some oil and fire, and I want to say a helmet, but I think that's more vindictive of my dream that I think it was, but I'm sure it was a pet that they had. But she made a donut for him, baked some donuts, and then taking it back, they were so delicious that he was sharing them. And then you know how news gets around.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got donuts. Salvation Army got donuts. Instead of calling us Salvation Army, they started calling them dough girls, donut girls.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
we're the donut girls, you know. So
Wow.
that became dough girls. And
Wow.
so wherever we go and whatever we do, we get a nickname. So that was the nickname of dough girls. We even worked in the slums, you know, where in New York slums and Chicago slums. And because that's where we worked, in where the slums were, they became slum girls. You know, you know. So I thought, like, oh wow, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I'll take it with pride. I'm a slum girl.
I'm a slum girl.
Yeah, Jenny on the block, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's fun. That's fun. Well,
yeah.
I love that adaptability to the circumstance, to the situation, and the humor as
Yeah.
well. You know, because
Yeah.
I think that that's a way also that we honor one another and make light of. You know, every one of those circumstances are pretty dark scenarios. You know, so
Yeah.
I think that that's so wonderful. Well, so what can we do? Because I've only got about 30 seconds here to ask you. So how can we support the efforts of the Salvation Army wherever we are? Because this show is being broadcast all over the world. So how can we mobilize folk to support the Salvation Army?
Well, there's a webpage, of course, you can go to find out all those particulars. But if you want to be that presence, there's a myvolunteer.com page you can go on, and you can see what kind of help that's up there, whether it is working with kettles or working with the different campaigns, coats for kids, or anything seniors. And they have a whole litany of lists of things that you can associate with no matter where you are. To be that presence in that moment. I would like to say too, there has been a partner, somebody has partnered with us, that if anybody gives tomorrow, when we ring out there, they will double whatever that money is.
Oh, wow.
Up
That's
to a
nice.
certain amount. So
Matching gift. Yeah. That's awesome.
thank you. So that $2 can make, you know,
Oh, yeah.
a great big difference, whatever, you know, every amount and stuff that you would give. There's also a virtual campaign. If you don't want to get out because of COVID or because of you can't, you can go to Salvation Army Virtual Kettle. Okay, the Salvation Army Virtual Kettle, and you can give that way also, so you don't have to leave your home.
Well, you know, that's good news, because Charlotte, I'm going to give to the Salvation Army Virtual Kettle the minute we get off of this here interview. So that's good news. So and I'm a man of my word. So if I'm telling you that, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure having you here on the show today, and I wish you all the best through this holiday season, and God bless you for all the wonderful work that you do individually and your service with the Salvation Army. So we are here, and we will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that didn't hurt.
Not too bad. Thank you for spending your afternoon right here with us at Bill Myers Inspires. Remember, we're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Inspired Choices Network. Remember to take time this week
to take a breath and look within yourself and figure out how you can make a positive difference in this world. Spread the word, and we'll see you here next Friday. Have a wonderful week.